Okay, in Algebra 2, Lesson 6.2, today we're going to work with exponents, but you can see right here on our beginning chart, it's the quotient rules, the zero rule, and the negative rules. If we go to page 2, every single property of exponents is on this page, and you're going to be able to go back and look at them. The quotient property, well, we're seeing that if I gave you a to the m divided by a to the n, what you do is you take these two powers, you just write a to the m minus n. That's how you simplify it. For example, and we're going to look right here, if you were given x to the 10th divided by x to the 7th, you're going to just write 1x, but you always take the top power minus the bottom power. Now, please realize that subtraction order matters. You always want to make sure that you've got the proper order. It's always top minus bottom, and 10 minus 7, you just get a 3. So you'd have x to the 3rd. Now, what you're going to see right here, it's kind of related to what we were doing yesterday, the power exponent rule. If you have a fraction raised up to the mth power, you will apply that power to both. So, for example, if you had x over 3, and if you're squaring, you're going to square the top, you're going to square the bottom. You'll apply that second power to both, and you'll get x squared over 9. The zero exponent property. Wow, this is important. If you take any non-zero number to the 0 power, you get 1. If you had x to the 0, for example, it's just a 1. Okay? And there's one final property we're going to talk about. That's if you have negative exponents. Negative exponents mean take a reciprocal and make the exponent positive. As a lot of teachers will say, change the floor the term lives on. If it's upstairs, move it downstairs. And vice versa. If it's downstairs with the negative exponent, bring it upstairs. Once you make the move, though, change the power to a positive. So if you ever saw a to the negative m power, you can see it's upstairs, move it downstairs. Take that reciprocal, go 1 over a to the m. We've got two quick problems right here. One of the biggest mistakes that kids make is what I've just circled right here. Only the x is raised to a negative power. Only flip the x. Kids will say, shouldn't you take a reciprocal? Shouldn't you flip things? Yeah, but the 2 doesn't move. The 2 is actually raised to a positive 1 power. So we got to be aware of that. So only move terms with a negative power, bring that down, and now it's x to the positive 4. Take a look at this final problem that we've got here. You could be given 2 over 3x to the negative 2. Just want to state the obvious that the only term with a negative power, the only term with a negative exponent is the x. That's the only thing you move. It's downstairs, bring it upstairs, and then you're going to have it as a positive exponent. So those are the basic properties. Let's real quickly get into lesson 6.2 and see what types of problems you're really going to be working with. Ironically, this isn't the first property that we worked with. It's actually the second. If you have a fraction raised to the second power, hey, we get to review what we did yesterday. Powers to powers, what do we do, guys? Multiply. You got it. A power to a power, you always multiply. That's from yesterday's lesson. Down below, you're going to square the 2. You'll get 2 to the second power. But the b to the 5th, power to a power, that gets multiplied also. 3 times 2, you're going to get a 6. Down below, 2 squared is a 4. And 5 times 2 is a 10. So that's what your final answer would look like. You're going to apply your exponent to every term in the problem. If you ever are raising a power to a power, that's when we multiply. Number 2, way simpler problem. Here's where we're going to take our powers and do what kind of math? Subtract. It's always top minus bottom, guys. Top minus bottom. 7 minus 2, you'd say, well, that's just a 5, and we're done. Right? Some of these you're going to do in just a couple of seconds. For number 3, you're going to have to do that property that we just did twice. You're going to say, well, look, I've got these a's right here. That's a to the 4 minus 3. And then I've got the b's over here. You could almost look at it as a separate problem. You'd say I have to subtract those powers also. So the 4 minus 3, you're just going to get a 1. 6 minus 2 is a 4. By the way, you could just write that as ab to the 4. Finally, as we get to these last problems, first of all, anything raised to the 0 power, what did we say it was again? A 1. This is really negative 5 times 1. Your answer is negative 5. Raise anything to the 0 power, you just get a 1. Last one, number 5. I hope you're noticing, guys, that there's only one thing with a negative exponent. One term with a negative power. And anytime you've got something with a negative power, you've got to change the floor it lives on. You're going to move this up. And then you're going to have a new power of positive 4. Now, by the way, I would probably just write that, as x to the 4th all over 2, and you could put a negative out in front, and the negative out in front if you just hit a negative. Because when you divide by a negative, you just get a negative. Okay? And that's the lesson today. So